so a lot of new guys there. Does that help, hurt preparation?
It's a good question. I don't know if it helps or hurts. They're playing good ball right now. I think KJ Wright coming back, he's a good football player. He and Wagner both. You know, I think when you have two veteran guys that are inside that have seen just about everything and the way they communicate, you know, they're playing well. They got some young guys that are playing good ball for them too. So it's going to be a good challenge.
When you come off of a bye week like this, especially you had this long trip and everything, is there any concern about taking a few series to kind of get back into it, to get up to speed, or is that not even a consideration?
You know, when you go into an environment like this where it's a tough place to play and you're dealing with the crowd noise like you deal with, it's always tough, you know, regardless of the bye week. I think our guys, you know, it was a good time for us because that was a hard trip between the Cleveland and then going over to London. It was good to get some time off, and, you know, they seemed fired up and ready to go. I think, you know, if you just think about it from a standpoint of going into Buffalo for their opening weekend, you know, the first game of their home game of the season, it was loud and it was tough. And then Cleveland, when we went in there, they were really revved up. So we've experienced that a little bit. You know, this is a little bit different environment, but I sure hope that's not the case. You know, we worked to be better starting the game off. Now, I can't guarantee that we'll have a Tennessee Titans start like we did one play and score, but the last two games we've been better starting games. And, you know, I think when you go against a team like this, that's something that you want to do. It's hard to do it, but that's something that you want to do.
Seems like you guys have been pretty pleased with how Sam has done at right tackle with Joe kind of working his way back in. How tough of a balance is it to, I know you talk about chemistry, to plug him back in when things are kind of working with Sam?
Well, they're both really good players. You know, I think back to Sam when he started against the Jets for us last year, and, you know, there was concern because he was a young guy that hadn't played, and he competed. And I give Sam a lot of credit because he's worked hard to get to this point. And, you know, Sam still does some young player things and misses some things, but Joe's been really good about getting himself back and getting ready to play, and he's a good football player. So, you know, I think that both of those guys fit into the group really well where the chemistry is good with those guys. So we're fortunate to have two guys that are good players there.
Who do you expect to start on Sunday between both of them?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter. I think they're both – to me, you can view both of those guys as starters. So, you know, Joe is still working his way back. I mean, it was a tough deal that he had, and to his credit, he's worked hard to get back, and he played a little bit in the last game, and he's working himself into being ready to go. So, you know, it doesn't matter to me.
Speaking of crowd noise, do you install any extra safety nets or anything like that if you can't communicate or you struggle to communicate?
You know, that's hard. I mean, if the communicator goes out and you have to try to communicate, it's really rough. I mean, that's not supposed to happen in the NFL world, but it does at times. So we've had that happen to us this year 2 times. And, you know, we're just lucky that we have a veteran quarterback like Phillip that you can give him a 1 or 2 word phrase that he'll understand it. So, you know, you always are concerned about that in this type of environment, but, you know, hopefully we'll be able to manage it. I certainly would never say, oh, yeah, we're good, because that'll certainly mean that we would have trouble. So,
Was you've coached in that building a lot, though, from your time in Arizona. How much do you lean on that experience going in there as an OC?
Well, yeah, we've been in there a few times, and it's a tough place to play. I think that, you know, being familiar with it doesn't really help you with dealing with what you're facing. Like I said, the only thing that helps us is that we've been in a similar environment. I'm not saying it is as strong an environment as Seattle is going to be, but we have been in it. This isn't our first time doing that this year. You know, you respect, like I said, the crowd in Buffalo, and it was loud, and it was on the road, excitement of the first game of the year, and Cleveland was pretty noisy. So hopefully that helps us deal with it. That's all you can say is that it helps us prepare for it, but it's hard. There's nothing that you can do to really – we work with noise in practice, and you just got to study your plan and hope that you can communicate it and go.
Keenan's frustrations kind of bubbled to the surface. London kicked the pile on. Him and Rivers kind of talked it out on the sideline. How do you continue to kind of juggle that? You want guys to want the ball, but then you don't want them to get too frustrated because if they don't get it.
Well, you know, that was a weird play because at the end of the route, Keenan was open, but at the time when we were going to throw the route, there was a defender that was sitting right under him. So there's two different perspectives there, the quarterbacks and Keenan's. And I think that the one thing that's really good about our group is that they all like each other, and they know that they're unselfish. So the competitive part of Keenan, you have no issue with. That's what drives him. That's what makes him a good player. The same thing with Phillip. You've seen Phillip get animated at times, which is okay. And, that's going to happen. It's just like if you have a brother or, you're going to fight with them at times. But it doesn't change the fact that you respect the way they work and that you count on them to be successful. So I don't think it's a problem. It certainly hasn't. There's been no residual effect of it. And you've seen a couple of those things over the years. I think, our players offensively, we have a lot of guys that do good things for us when they get the ball in their hands. And you're always trying to get different guys plays. And I think that our players respect the fact that we have a pretty good mix of trying to do it, and sometimes it works for them and sometimes it doesn't. So, but I can tell you this, Keenan's a good player. We're going to try to get him the ball.
How much of the offense's success, other than just the abilities of the individual players in it, is that balance to go to so many different weapons?
It helps, no question. It helps. But, listen, I think you got to give credit to those guys because they've worked hard. We ask a lot of them from the standpoint. If you really look at us and you look at where they line up on different plays and what they have to do on different plays, sometimes it's a decoy, sometimes it's blocking, sometimes it's the primary. These guys, like I said, have been unselfish as far as doing that. And I believe that that's part of the reason why we've been able to do a few things. It's not because we have a bunch of high-profile guys that are, can do a lot of great things. It's like we have a bunch of hard-working guys that are talented, that are unselfish, and that's helped us.
Phillip is about to start his 200th consecutive regular season game. Just having spent the time that you have with him, what is it about his personality, I guess, that lends itself to that sort of durability?
Well, I think that, he's probably one of the most competitive people I've ever been around, that fire to play. He loves the game. He loves his teammates. Even though he and Keenan are going to fight a little bit on the sidelines, he loves them, and that's a big part of it. I think, the challenge of preparing and trying to be successful is something that drives you as a player, and it never gets old. Sometimes as an older player, your body won't let you do it. He's gifted, and he hasn't faced that problem, but the drive and the competitiveness that he has is second to none as far as what I've seen. And, I think certainly our players and team respect that when you know how he works and how he prepares.
He said he couldn't really remember a time when he thought he might not play in a week. How often have you seen him just kind of play through that pain, not even think, a second thought about it?
I've seen him play. I mean, I think if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you're going to play through pain at times because, listen, there's a lot of times when you don't see the hits that they hit after they make the throw and, somebody falls on them or they get knocked down. So, I don't know in the time that I've been with Phillip that I've ever said he wasn't going to play or thought that he wasn't going to play because he's just been so durable and he works so hard to even when he's sore and stiff. I mean, there's been a couple of times where we've cut some reps back in practice for him just so you can let him get back into it. But, nothing that has been in my time, which is a small part of those 200 games where it's been a question.
And yet he's still throwing blocks on run plays.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, hopefully we won't have to do that a lot, but yes, he is. Like I said, that goes back to what I was talking about with him being competitive.
How important is it for you guys to have Melvin Gordon available on Sunday?
Well, Melvin's a good football player. He's having a great season, and we certainly want him out there. But with that type of injury, that's something that you don't want to have long-term effects of. But he's working back into practice, and we'll see how that goes. It looks good. Thank you, guys.
Very well coached. Some of the guys, since my time was there, you recognize Russell Wilson, the time with him there. But a lot of the faces have changed, but you still see a lot of enthusiasm. Like I said, very well coached, and they have a definite philosophy of who they want to be.
It seems like they've kind of gotten back to their identity of running the football and then playing off of that. Have you seen that kind of re-emphasize?
Yeah, it seems like that. You know, I think Russell is a guy, when you watch him, that can take over a game. He can do that. But I think with any team, when you have the ability to run the ball, it makes the quarterback that much more effective. And, you know, he only had, 16 or 17 pass attempts, but over 200 yards. So these plays that they're having in the pass game are very explosive plays. And, you know, when you have a running game and then you can play pass off of it, that's what's so challenging. And they feel like, you know, they're on a roll right now.
Having faced Tyreek Hill already at the beginning of the season, does that kind of prepare you for Tyler Lockett, or do you feel like they're different players?
A little bit different, but the speed, you know, and the big play capabilities. I saw a stat the other night where he completed, 21 of 25 times he targeted Lockett. So, I mean, he's very aware where he is on the field. They'll get him the ball on jet sweep. So there's some similarities like that. But, you know, they're very explosive, a guy that can make a big play and turn the game around for him.
Have you been back to that stadium since you last coached there?
Yeah, when I was in Jacksonville. Yeah.
What was the like? Is it still the same type of memories when you step back on that?
Yeah, it's a great place to play. You know, to go up there and you know the environment that you're going to be in. And, you know, I thought the environment in London was very good. You know, and now this week we're playing in another environment that's, you know, where the crowd noise and, you know, the whole atmosphere. And you got two teams that are playing pretty well right now.
Your run defense has improved dramatically from last year, and you faced the Rams, and I know some other teams that can run the ball, but for a team like this that commits to the run as much as they do, where does this kind of stack up in terms of challenges to your defense?
Oh boy, yeah, it's a big challenge. Just because they're, you know, I think they're averaging over 170 yards a game rushing over the last 4 games. And when you look at it, the number of explosive runs, you know, you don't watch them and say, oh, there's a 30-yard run, there's a 40-yard run, there's a 20-yard run. There's a lot of 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And when you look at the stats, there might be a 12 and then a 12 and a 15. But, I mean, they just are very convicted. And where I've seen it is that's impacted third down. You don't see much 3rd and 7 to 10 or 3rd and 7 to 11 or 11 plus. You see in that medium category, and it's helped their third down percentages rise too.
What do you attribute your defense's success against the run to this year?
Well, we're better. There's no doubt. But I think just our play, I mean, some of our off-season studies, what we need to ask of the players and what they're capable of doing. So I think GIF, you know, it always starts up front. So the D-line is really taking on that personality of what we're asking to do. I think we're more on the same page. And then I think a guy like Square has really helped. You know, ever since we got him in there more in some of the run situations, that he's done a good job for us. So, but really up front, they're doing a good job. If we have a misfit, you see a run come out. We've had a couple in 2-minute or end of games, you know, where some teams have got some rushing. But, you know, it'll be tested this weekend.
What do you do to be effective in those unscripted plays where Russell can get out and create chunk plays?
Yeah, you try to mimic it in practice, but it's hard. You know, hey, every so often quarterback take off and run, so we get our plaster rules down, but he's so effective, and it's not like, okay, hey, D-line, he'll always try to escape this way. That's not the case with Russell. I mean, you watch, you know, all of his plays, and you see him escape different ways. So, I mean, obviously you want to try to contain him because when he gets out of the pocket and extends plays, but when he goes through the middle too, you know, so our pass rush lanes have got to be very disciplined this week, very disciplined.
Coach Brandon, we made some really plans, real high level of late this season. How would you evaluate this?
I would say that's accurate. Week after week, he's been playing at a high level for us. And, you know, it starts up the middle. You know, you got to be really solid in the middle part of your defense. And he's done a good job with that part. There's never been a time when we're concerned about the matchup as far as how he's playing and what we're asking him to do. So, yeah, he's playing at a pretty good level right now.
What did you take from Pete and coaching with him those years you were up there?
A lot of things. I mean, he's had a tremendous impact, you know, on me as a coach. I think he's very analytical, you know, as far as studying tape and watching tape and trying to see, you know, how to affect different offenses and his attitude and the way he works, you know, day after day, his energy level, I think is, you know, something that when you're with him for 4 years like I was and you saw it day after day, and I think it's pretty impressive. I mean, they've lost a lot of guys since I've been there. I don't know many guys on the roster anymore, but the style of play is very similar. I play with a lot of energy, you know, on defense. I watched a little bit last night, and the energy level and what they're asking to do, and the guys are on it and detailed. So, you know, for him to have Ken Norton back there, too, I think is a big plus.
know the other side so well in terms of the coaches? What makes that matchup different in terms of that versus any other matchup?
Well, I think, you know what, as a coach, it is a relationship business. I mean, you can say what you want, but, you know, when you have a relationship with these guys, you know, and they've meant so much to you as a person and as a coach, you can't help it. But you're always excited to compete now against them. So it's, you know, it's a unique opportunity. You know those guys, you've been with them through some ups and downs. So you have that part of it, but, you know, and then it becomes just a game. Once you're up there and in that situation, you know, I think it's going to be a great challenge for us and an exciting step for us. I think we need this game where we're at right now. We need to see where we're at and evaluate some things based on the challenge that they're going to give us.
Missed tackles seemed like a problem last year, especially in the run game. That seems to have been ironed out as far as... You know,
I think it has been better. I didn't think we tackled as well last game. I thought last game there were some missed tackles where it was a little bit out of our character. But prior to that, I think, yes, our tackling has improved. We've seen our numbers drop. And so that was a big emphasis this week.
Was there anything you guys did to focus more on tackling or any?
No, I think the way we approach it, I mean, the style of runners that we have or we're facing, and then a tackling plan, and make sure that our players are on it and keep it alive every day in meetings. And our players have done a great job. They see it, and they bought into it, and we've been seeing it on tape.
Going back to the run defense real quick, since you come into the league has become just more and more passing. How has that kind of changed how people defend the run?
Well, I think there's a big question out there, you know, amongst some staffs. I know it has been with us. Is can you run the ball and score a lot of points, or do the points come from explosive passes? And do you have to throw it 30, 40 times a game to get the number of points? But I think across the board, when you watch it, you can. Seattle is a great example. I mean, they're scoring 28 points and they're running the ball 35 times a game. You know, so the points can come. So I still think it's a mindset to go in and say, hey, we've got to slow down this run game. And then we've got to, you know, try to make each team one-dimensional. But, you know, so I think it still is. It's a big factor in it. Look at our team. You know, we're running the ball more effectively, and it's helped, I think, in that manner. And I think that's why Seattle right now, with their identity, they're rolling a little bit.
Because we were talking to you since that last, 2-point stop at the end. Just the mindset of your team to go out there and win a game like that, how much can that really galvanize it?
Well, I think it was good. You know, one thing to give credit to Coach Lynn, we've been in those situations. We have, like today, we have a competitive situation and practices on Thursday. And he'll throw out different situations where we got to go out there and line up and play against our offense, and it's ones versus ones. So we've had those situations in practice, a 4th and 2 on the 2, a 2-point conversion to win it. And so our players have had to jump in that situation in practice. And to see it happen in a game, it's like they've kind of, well, hey, we've been here. We were in this situation where we've got to make a play. And so I think that's a big part of it. We always talk about, hey, if it's on the 1-yard line or the 6-inch line, give us an inch and we'll protect it. You know, I think that's more our mentality as a defense in those situations. Not, oh, no, we're in this situation. No. It doesn't matter. Give us 2 inches and we'll protect it. So to go out there and compete, and I think for it to come together and make a play, it was great, to show the players that mindset.
Piggybacking off of Ricky's question, Adrian Phillips, he was the one that tipped the ball. How do you feel like he's played throughout the season?
He is so consistent. We rely on him because of the multiple positions he can play, and I think he has a very, very good understanding of the defense. So even on that play, he jumped over to the other side. If you watch it on tape, he got situated. We got lined up. They had some motion, and he flipped and went over, and then had the presence to get a hand on the ball. He just gives. I think there's a lot of trust with the guys on the field with him being out there. So, and you would think with the run game, sometimes with him being in the box, you might give up some things. And, he's not 245 pounds, but he's very smart. I think he knows how to utilize his skill set.
Thanks, Gus.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
This